Is Earth's moon a hollow space station? The evidence presented by scientists. And we have the video in the picture here. The pre-moon, pre-selenite calendar of Huma in Bolivia. So they had a calendar of what the Earth would have been going through without the moon being present. The ancient Greeks of Arcadia also say that they existed before the Earth had a moon. Now, according to the moon being hollow and a space station, this is something that the ancient Greeks as well talked about. That moon was hollow and it was not always there. The pre-Selenites of the Peloponnese existed before the Earth had a moon. Now, the moon is the eye in the sky to the inhabitants of Earth, and it provides us with our natural tidal cycles, which are said to maintain the equilibrium of all species on our planet. Peculiarly, certain phases of the moon cycle are even known to affect our moods and emotions, and most will likely never question the existence or makeup of the moon, as it does its usual routine of lighting up the night sky, circling our planet. But many scientists are not convinced that the narrative of its origin is as solid as we are led to believe. There's a lot of controversy that exists around the origin and makeup of the moon today, and one of the largest arguments surrounding the satellite is the solidity or lack thereof of its center and the process by which we got our moon in the first place. Now, we know that one of the NASA experiments concerning the moon, when they let something drop on the surface of the moon rang like a bell for hours, meaning that this can't happen with a solid body. It can only happen with something that is okay, that was the bell of my church just across the street. That can only, is that a coincidence? That can only happen when something is empty inside, like a bell. So there's a lot of controversy as to how we got our moon. One of the largest arguments surrounding the satellite is the solidity or lack of solidity of its center and the process by which we got our moon in the first place. Kindly support my Patreon account since YouTube has again demonetized my YouTube channel. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below. What in blazes is our moon doing way out there? It's too far out to be a true satellite of Earth. It's too big to have been captured by the Earth. The changes of such a capture having been effected and the moon then having taken up a nearly circular orbit about the Earth are too small to make such an eventuality credible. But then if the moon is neither a true satellite of the Earth nor a captured one, what is it? This is what Isaac Asimov said. Asimov on Astronomy, Doubleday, 1974, Mercury Press, 1963. Also quoted in Don Wilson's book, Our Mysterious Spaceship Moon. Currently, there are around 5 widely discussed theories of moon formation. They are as follows. 1. Capture. This theory proposes that the moon was captured by the gravitational pull of our Earth. The one main problem is the capture mechanism. A close encounter with Earth typically results in either collision or altered trajectories. This hypothesis has difficulty explaining the essentially identical oxygen isotope ratios of the two worlds. Number 2 is fission. The theory states that during a time when the Earth was forming and was still molten, the spinning of the planet projected out a material which became our moon today. The Pacific Ocean was supposedly the area where the moon came out from. However, this was debunked considering the immaturity of the ocean floor crust and the knowing that the moon formed much longer. 3. Accretion. This hypothesis states that the moon and the Earth formed together as a double system from the primordial accretion disk of the solar system. The problem with this hypothesis is that it does not explain the angular momentum of the Earth-Moon system, or why the Moon has a relatively small iron core compared to Earth's 25% of it is radius compared to 50% of the Earth. 4. Georeactor explosion. A more radical alternative hypothesis published recently in 2010 proposes that the Moon may have been formed from the explosion of a georeactor located along the core mantle boundary at the equatorial plane of the rapidly rotating Earth. 5. The giant impact theory. This was the most commonly accepted theory up until recently. This theory suggests that long ago, a planetary body the size of Mars crashed into Earth, expelling a large piece of mass into space which became our Moon. While this hypothesis explains many aspects of the Earth-Moon system, there are still a few unresolved problems facing it, such as the Moon's volatile elements not being as depleted as expected from such an energetic impact. Another issue is lunar and Earth isotope comparisons. In 2011, the most precise measurement yet of the isotopic signatures of lunar rocks was published. Surprisingly, the Apollo lunar samples carried an isotopic signature identical to Earth rocks, but different from other solar system bodies. Since most of the material that went into the orbit to form the Moon was thought to come from Theia, the name scientists gave to the impactor, this observation was unexpected. In 2007, researchers from Caltech showed that the likelihood of Theia having an identical isotopic signature as Earth was very small, less than 1%. Published in 2012, an analysis of titanium isotopes in Apollo lunar samples showed that the Moon has the same composition as the Earth, which conflicts with the Moon forming far from Earth's orbit. Unfortunately, none of the previous theories provided the answers to the big questions surrounding the Moon's origins. What's apparent, though, is a number of strange facts about the Moon which conjure up many about its existence. Let's take a look at some of them. Number 1. The Moon's age. The Moon is far older than previously expected, maybe even older than the Earth or the Sun. The oldest age for the Earth is estimated to be 4.6 billion years old. Moon rocks were dated at 5.3 billion years old, and the dust upon which they were resting was at least another billion years older. I mean, that's strange. Some argue that the Moon may seem older only because its surface never renews itself, whereas the Earth may have rocks that are old but have since been recycled through the natural resurfacing of the planet. 2. Rock's origin. The chemical composition of the dust upon which the rocks sat differed remarkably from the rocks themselves, contrary to accepting theories that the dust resulted from weathering and breaking up of the rocks themselves. The rocks had to have come from somewhere else. 3. Heavier elements on the surface. Normal planetary composition results in heavier elements in the core and lighter materials at the surface. Not so with the Moon. Don Wilson writes in his book, Our Mysterious Spaceship Moon, the abundance of refractory elements like titanium in the surface area is so pronounced that several geologists propose the refractory compounds were brought to the Moon's surface in great quantity in some unknown way. They don't know how, but that it was done cannot be questioned. 4. Water vapor. On March 7, 1971, lunar instruments placed by the astronauts recorded a vapor cloud of water passing across the surface of the Moon. The cloud lasted 14 hours and covered an area of about 100 square miles. Okay, that's water with vapor, 14 hours of cloud covering 100 square miles. That's a big question mark. Where did that water come from? What was it doing up there like a cloud? Number 5, magnetic rocks. Moon rocks were magnetized. This is odd because there is no magnetic field on the Moon itself. This could not have originated from a close call with Earth, such as an encounter would have ripped the Moon apart. There have been many theories that aim to explain this magnetism, however, they all still sit as theories. 6. Seismic activity. Hundreds of moonquakes are recorded each year that cannot be attributed to meteor strikes. In November 1958, Soviet astronomer Nikolai Kozyrev of the Crimean Astrophysical Observatory photographed a gaseous eruption of the moon near the crater Alphonsus. He also detected a reddish glow that lasted for about an hour. In 1963, astronomers at the Lowell Observatory also saw reddish glows on the crests of ridges at the Aristarchos region. These observations have proved to be precisely identical and periodical, repeating themselves as the moon moves closer to the Earth. These are probably not natural phenomena. Number 7, hollow moon. The moon's mean density is 3.34 grams per square centimeter, per cubic centimeter. That's 3.34 times an equal volume of water, whereas the Earth's is 5.5. But so what does this mean? In 1962, NASA scientist Dr. Gordon MacDonald stated, if the astronomical data are reduced, it is found that the data required that the interior of the moon is more like a hollow than a homogeneous sphere. Nobel chemist Dr. Harold Urey suggested the moon's reduced density is because of large areas inside the moon where there is simply a cavity. MIT's Dr. Sean C. Solomon wrote, the lunar orbiter experiments vastly improved our knowledge of the moon's gravitational field, indicating the frightening possibility that the moon might be hollow. In Carl Sagan's treatise, Intelligent Life in the Universe, the famous astronomer said, a natural satellite cannot be a hollow object. Therefore, the moon may not be a natural satellite at all. Number 8, moon echoes. On November 20th, 1969, the Apollo 12 crew jettisoned the lunar module ascent stage, causing it to crash onto the moon. The LEMS impact, about 40 miles from the Apollo 12 landing site, created an artificial moonquake with startling characteristics. The moon reverberated like a bell for more than an hour. This phenomenon was repeated with Apollo 13, intentionally commanding the third stage to impact the moon, with even more startling results than Apollo 12. Seismic instruments recorded that the reverberation lasted for 3 hours and 20 minutes and traveled to a depth of 25 miles, leading to the conclusion that the moon has an unusually light or even no core. To put it into perspective, that when the Earth experiences a large earthquake, the reverberations from the quake usually only last minutes due to the density of our planet. Number 9, the moon's origin. Before the astronauts' moon rocks conclusively disproved the theory, the moon was believed to have originated when a chunk of Earth broke off eons ago. Another theory was that the moon was created from leftover space dust, quote-unquote, remaining after the Earth was created. Analysis of the composition of moon rocks disproved this theory also. Another popular theory is that the moon was somehow captured by the Earth's gravitational attraction, but no evidence exists to support this theory. And Isaac Asimov stated, it's too big to have been captured by the Earth. The chances of such a capture having been effected and the moon then having taken up nearly circular orbit around our Earth are too small to make such an eventuality credible. Number 10, weird orbit. Our moon is the only moon in the solar system that has a stationary, near-perfect circular orbit, although it is still elliptical. Stranger still, the moon's center of mass is about 6,000 feet closer to the Earth than its geometric center, which should cause wobbling. But the moon's bulge is on the far side of the moon, away from the Earth. It seems that something must have put the moon in orbit with this precise altitude, course, and speed. Let's remember, and we never see the far side of the moon. We only see the one side of the moon, always. Moon diameter, number 11. How does one explain the coincidence that the moon is just the right size, right distance, coupled with just the right diameter to completely cover the sun during an eclipse? Again, Isaac Asimov responds, there is no astronomical reason why the moon and the sun should fit so well. It is the sheerest of coincidences, and only the Earth among all the planets is blessed in this fashion. And then Henry Kroll, author of Cosmological Ice Ages, discusses the moon's arrival in orbit around the Earth. The moon in mythology. Theories about the moon actually date back thousands of years, as various cultures and civilizations discuss the story of how it came to be where it resides today. And we have the image of the ancient calendar located in the courtyard of Calasasaya, Bolivia. Tells of a time when our moon was not there. Greek authors, Aristotle and Plutarch, and Roman authors, Apollonius, Rhodius, and Ovid, all wrote of a group of people called the Proselines. The Greek name for the moon is Selene. So Proselines means pro-moon people, who lived in the central mountain area of Greece called Arcadia. The Proselines claimed title to this area because their forebearers were there, quote, before there was a moon in the heavens, end quote. This claim is substantiated by symbols on the wall of the courtyard of Calasasaya near the city of Tiwanaku in Bolivia, which record that the moon came into orbit around the Earth between 11,500 and 13,000 years ago, long before recorded history. Does that wake you up now? You know what took place at that time? That was the Younger Dryas Comet impact. Okay? The Younger Dryas Comet impact, 12,800 years ago. The huge comet that impacted our Earth, it was cut into 18 pieces, 18 so far found, of 1 to 2 kilometers size each. And they caused the Younger Dryas nearly Earth extinction event. Now, Zulu shaman Credo Mutwa said that Zulu legends believe the moon to be hollow and the home of the python or chitari, or as David Icke calls them, the reptilians, a race of intelligent extraterrestrials. The legend states the moon was brought here hundreds of generations ago by two brothers, Wowona and Mpaku, who were the leaders of these reptilian extraterrestrials. African Zulu legend tells of the extraterrestrial race called the Chitari, who hollowed out the moon and brought it to Earth to use as a hub to oversee the control of the human race. This legend fits well into the theory of the reptilian-human hybrids, which are thought to run our world today, as some theories go. Now, these, it's just, it's no evidence of this, obviously. Now, these two were known as the Water Brothers, and they both had scaly skin like fish. And this tale is very similar to the Mesopotamian and Sumerian accounts about the two chief leaders, brothers Enlil and Enki, lords of the earth. Credo continues telling the Zulu legends of how Wowona and Paku stole the moon in the form of an egg from the, quote, great fire dragon, end quote, and emptied out the yolk until it was hollow. Then they rolled the moon across the sky to the earth, which brought about cataclysmic events on this planet that ended the golden age of the past. Credo Mtua claims that the earth was very different than it is now before the moon had arrived. There were not any seasons, and the planet was perpetually engulfed in a canopy of water vapor. People did not feel the strong glare of the sun that we do now, and they could only see it through a watery mist. The earth was once a beautiful place, a lovely place, lush and green, with giant redwoods, violets, and ferns, with a gentle drizzle and mist. The water canopy fell to the earth as a cataclysm of rain when the moon was put into place in the earth's orbit. This is symbolized in the Bible when it rains for 40 days and 40 nights. And of course, the great deluge, the great flood, the story of Noah. The arrival of the moon and the reptilians changed everything on earth. It modified the earth's rotation and angle. The earth turned over on its axis as we are upside down, as the legend says, and brought more powerful tidal systems that once had been much calmer. Women did not have their menstruation before the moon arrived, it said. Okay, well, whatever. Zulus and other native African accounts say the moon was built far, far away to keep an eye on people and as a vehicle to travel the universe. Credo says that the reptilians' giant mothership is the moon, and that's where they escaped to during the cataclysms of the Great Flood, which they had caused by manipulating the moon, creating other cosmic events. Is this true? Well, this is a Zulu legend. Okay, that doesn't mean it's true, but it's just like the video before this one about Mount Shasta, the eruptions about this guy and the other guy, one from the earth inside the earth, one guy from the heavens, and battling each other, and then the mountain erupted. Okay, there's a lot of legends that come out with what's happening with volcanic eruptions or earth changes. Now, outrageous as the spacecraft moon theory might first appear, consider how this model reconciles all the mysteries of the moon. It explains why the moon gives evidence of being older than the Earth, perhaps even our solar system, and why there are 3 distinct layers within the moon, with the densest material on the outside layer, as one would expect of the hull of the spaceship would be. It could also explain why no sign of water has been found on the moon's surface, yet there is evidence it exists deep inside. This theory also would explain the strange Maria and mascons, perhaps the remnants of the machinery used in the hollow to hollow out the moon. The idea of artificial satellite could explain the odd rhythmic moonquakes as artificial constructs reacting the same way during periods of stress from the Earth's pull, and artificial equipment beneath the moon's surface might be the source of the gas clouds that have been observed. A scientist called Erwin Shapiro, who works at the Harvard Smithsonian Center for Astrophysics, said, "Looking at all the anomalies and unanswered questions about the moon, the best explanation for the moon is observational error. It does not exist," Erwin said. Shapiro is a respected figure in astrophysics. His research includes using gravitational lenses to assess the age of the universe. There are strange anomalies on the moon as well. The following strange structures and happenings further propagate the mysterious events surrounding the moon. Number 1, ages of flashes. Aristarchus, Plato, Eratosthenes, Biela, Rabbi Levi, and Posidonius all reported anomalous lights on the moon. NASA, 1 year before the first lunar landing, reported more than 570 lights and flashes were observed on the moon from 1540 to 1967. Number 2, Operation Moonblink. NASA's Operation Moonblink detected 28 lunar events in a relatively short period of time. Number 3, the shard on the moon. The shard, an obelisk-shaped object that towers 1.5 miles from the Eureka area of the moon's surface, was discovered by Orbiter 3 in 1968. Dr. Bruce Cornett, who studied the amazing photograph, said, "No known natural process can explain such a structure." Then we had the tower on the moon. One of the most curious features ever photographed on the lunar surface, Lunar Orbiter photograph 3-84M, is an amazing spire that rises more than 5 miles from the Sinus Medii region of the lunar surface. Number 5, the lunar obelisks. Lunar Orbiter 2 took several photographs in November 1966 that showed several obelisks, one of which was more than 150 feet tall. Quote, "The spires were arranged in precisely the same as the auspices of the 3 Great Pyramids," end quote. I guess they're talking about the Giza pyramids here. The subject of the moon is a touchy one for many. Any suggestion of the moon not being what we've been told it is usually follows with accusations of conspiracy and pseudoscience. Although there may be many theories that aim to debunk all aspects of this theory, there are too many factors that still don't add up. How is it that seemingly unconnected ancient cultures have their own version of the artificial moon myth? Why are there unexplained geometric structures on the surface of the moon, which correlate to the structures found in ancient Egypt and other primitive locations on Earth? How is it that by miraculous chance the moon perfectly eclipses our sun? NASA, the government agency, are known to have a history of, perhaps for reasons that they want to classify things, concealing information. Now, nevertheless, we're left simply curious as no one can currently complete the narrative of the moon's origin. We encourage you to think outside of the box in this regard as history and mainstream science provide only a limited perspective on the matter. This is by Jeff Roberts on Collective Evolution, and it's on Humans Are Free by Alexander Light. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support.